Hi, welcome to the free money making trend lines video. And I think developing confidence in your skills and pattern recognition is paramount to the success for you as a trader. And the most simple and basic tool that is also one of the most powerful in my arsenal is the simple trend line. It's like playing connect the dots while you were young, just joining a minimum of 2 points on the chart, and you've got yourself a basic idea of not only where the trend is going, but also the probable magnitude of the move and even how time actually affects the particular trend. And most importantly, it gives you inflection points whereby or where the turning points are going to appear on chart, and where the stock is likely to turn in your favor. Okay, so now many of you believe that drawing trend lines is easy and don't really care much of a hoot about it after some time of fooling around with the trend lines and stuff like that. But let me tell you that nothing is further from the truth. Drawing the correct trend line is not only challenging but potentially very, very rewarding as well. I have spent a minimum of about 3 to 5 years looking at countless charts and drawing trend lines all over the place before I actually got good at it. And experience is really a good teacher in this particular case. When I first started off learning, I learned under a very successful trader that trades an average of $1 million worth of stock in a single month. And 70 to 80% of his toolbox is just using the humble trend line. So in this video, I'm going to attempt to bring you up to speed very, very quickly and show you general good guidelines on how to draw a decent to good trend line and the mistakes most traders make when drawing them. Okay, but before we start this, it is important to note that when you draw trend lines, try to draw it on charts that work well for them. Okay, not every chart will work well for trend lines, and if you were to play a very small market cap stock, maybe a very small company's stock that or over-the-counter stocks, then chances are that it will not work because it's very easily manipulated by the big money. So try not to play games that you are not advantageous with. Okay, if you play games that you are not on the advantage side, then chances are you will lose money. So just a disclaimer that this trend line method does not work on all stocks, and you have to be discerning about which stocks you trade anyway in the first place. Okay, so let's do a quick overview of trend lines. Okay, let me just pull out my pen over here. So let's say prices move like that, and uptrend line would be drawn in this way. Okay, and a downtrend line would be when prices move down like that, and then you draw a downtrend line this way. And the most simplistic one is the support and resistance lines. That means the stock is maybe moving in this way, so you draw the support and the resistance in this way. So in essential, the trend line is just an angled support and resistance lines, because instead of being horizontal, it's a little bit slanted and angled at a certain degree. Okay, so you can use this on any kind of charts that you prefer, be it the bar chart, candlesticks chart, etc. But for me, I prefer to use the candlesticks chart as it is actually more visual for me, because I can easily see how prices have been moving with just a glance of my eye. So just use whatever that you're comfortable with. Some people prefer to use bar charts because it may be a little bit easier to draw for them. Just feel free to use. So if you were to change it to a open, high, low, close, then you can see the points are actually a little bit more well defined. Okay, because you can see the really small little lows and for all this. But nowadays, because most charting platforms actually has this auto magnetize, so if I just put close to it, closely to the bottom, you'll just snap it there. So it's basically pretty simple to draw it on candlestick charts, because last time it doesn't have the snap feature, so you have to kind of really try to angle it the correct way. But nowadays you don't have to. Okay, so now it's very simple and easy to use. Now, there's always this huge amount of debate and argument on whether the lines should be drawn from the lows of the price bars or the close of the price bars, and etc. So an example meaning by, am I going to draw the start of the trend line at the bottom, which is the low of the bar, or should it be at the close, or something like that? I think it's a very useless debate. Okay, generally I prefer to draw from the low of the price bar. So like say, like this general representation of the chart, I'll probably draw it this way. Okay, from the lows. Let's say if I want to connect two lows, this would be it. Or let's say if I want to connect these two lows, this will be it. Okay. In any case, it is important to note that there will be cases where the stock actually is trying to tell you to draw it in a different approach or another approach, which are the lines that the market has been favoring at the current point of time. So it is important to actually keep your mind open when you're interpreting the charts. Okay, that's the most important. It's not really about being precise, but about where do you think what do you think the stock is trying to tell you. I think that's most important. So you need to keep an open mind in order to draw good trend lines, good and solid trend lines. Okay, so an example like this, let me just change the color of this. Okay, some of you may start to draw from, let's say if you have this chart placed in front of you, you'll probably draw it like this. Okay, this is obviously easy because it's after the fact, the chart has already moved. But let's say you do not know anything from here, how would you actually draw the trend line? Okay, for beginners, maybe they'll draw something like this, okay, which is just wrong because it's not a fair representation. Because number one, it's not that it's wrong, but you are not drawing the way the market is trying to tell you, because right now you only have these 2 points. Okay, you only have this point and this point, and there's no guarantee that from this point onwards the stock will fly up and etc. So you always have to ask yourself this question: is there a better line out there? Okay, so let me change this to blue to make it easier to see. Okay, so let me just fade this away. This is the original line. Let me just fade it away. Okay, so you got to ask yourself, is there a better trend line to be drawn? So you got to try. Okay, so let's say from here to here, is it a good trend line? Yes, it is good for this portion of the trend, but you can see that around here it has actually broken down and the stock is not really following this trend line anymore. So it's giving you a clue that tells you that this original trend line here that you may have drawn is not working anymore. So what you need to do is to redraw the trend line. Okay, so the next, is there a better line since this is not the right line anymore? So we got to experiment with it. Okay, so like from here to here, you can see that it auto snaps it. Change to blue here, save as default. And if I extend it out, you can see that, hey, this line is pretty good because it has 1, 2, 3, and this one is, we are not very sure whether the stock will bounce, but you can see that I have 3 points over here, 1, 2, 3. Okay, as opposed to this trend line, the old trend line that I've drawn, or the other trend line that the market is actually not following anymore. All right, so if you want to bet on a turn of the stock, let's say you want to whack the stock on a particular position using this trend line, I will be very much more inclined to bet on this stock at this point, okay, which is this trend line over here. Okay, because very simply, it has more points, more inflection points for you to take a look at. Okay, I hope you understand what I mean. So from here, you can trade it in a many myriads of ways. Okay, but I will believe will be the probable trend line. Okay, another thing is usually people would like to draw what you call channel. Okay, so you got to bring it up. Okay, and then place it so that you know where the stock, let's say if it bounces up from here, where is it likely to go? Okay, a very common mistake is people would draw it in the channel in this manner. Okay, you point it all the way to the highs over here. However, if you do that, you are actually having a lower probability of success of where the stock is likely to go, because this is the extreme. You can see that a better line would definitely be, if you draw it this way, don't be afraid to draw through points. Okay, it is not exact science. So you can see that there's a high here. And even though this stock exceeded over here, you can see there were reactions over here and over here and over here. So if you want to be more conservative, you can actually even shift this line down even more, okay, to make sure that all the areas and the highs and the what do you call the reaction points are all lined up together. Okay, so this will be a much more probable upper channel where the stock is likely to face a certain amount of resistance, or it could be just a very good take profit point because this is where the stock has been moving for the past few months. Okay, and then let's just delete all this, and then you can see that the stock eventually really goes up a lot. Okay, personally I have traded this stock, that's why I'm showing you this example. I've traded the stock over here. Okay, and you can see that after the stock has made a big move, you can actually draw a trend line, another trend line over here. Okay, so one way is that you can start to take some profits out whichever level you want. Once you have fulfilled, maybe it's a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 reward to risk ratio, you could actually take some profits over here also at the top end of the channel. And you can leave a little bit until it breaks the trend line over here. Maybe you will exit here. But once you have exited a call position, maybe around this area, you would have no trouble holding on to the position because it doesn't mean so much to you now. So you are able to let the stock do whatever it needs to do. Okay, if it goes up a lot, then good for you, you're making a lot more money. If it doesn't, then scrap it, is fine because you have made the bulk of your money anyway. All right, so this is the way I use it to use trend lines to, you know, keep making consistent money from the markets. Okay, another thing is that the angle of the trend line is very important. You can see that the angle of this trend line over here, okay, is pretty steep. So the steeper the angle of the trend line, then the likelihood that the stock will break. And once it breaks, it doesn't mean that the stock will just, you know, go all the way down. Okay, it could just mean, because it's very steep, it could just mean that the ascent of the stock has been slowing down. So it could move like that and then continue to go up again. Many amateurs make the mistake that they place too heavily of an emphasis on trendline breaks. Okay, so let's say if the trend line actually breaks here, you would think that the stock will just go down like that, but that does not necessarily mean the case. Okay, think of the trend lines as a fence. Okay, so as a fence, and then maybe a little bull. I don't know how to draw bulls. Okay, let's give it 2 horns. Okay, I am very bad at drawing, but anyway, this is a bull. If a bull go and crash on the fence, it does not mean that, you know, that it will not, I mean, it will crash through it, because if it is a wall, the bull crash on it and then nothing will happen. Okay, but trend lines are not like that. Okay, trend lines are more like fences. So the fences may actually bend. Okay, so let's say the bull is charging towards here. Okay, the bull is here, and then this thing will actually bend rather than, you know, just be static in this way. So the markets are a little bit different. You need to think of it as like a fencing. Okay, try not to trade trend line breaks unless, of course, it's a very steep trend line. But then again, this is not my style, because I'd rather draw trend lines to mark out areas where I will trade in accordance to the trend line, because you must understand that trend lines are some sort of a trend indicator at the same time. Okay, if I don't see a very good deal on the trend lines, then I will not trade it. Okay, but let's say if it breaks down here, I will definitely not trade this on the way down, because it's showing you that it's on the more lower side of the trend movement. So chances of it going up again is very high as opposed to going down. Okay, I hope you understand what I mean. So I rarely trade on this kind of events where the prices actually break down from the trend line. Why? Because the market isn't perfect. Even though the particular trend line has been pierced through or violated, it doesn't mean the trend has changed. Okay, so I think this is a very good example. Let me give you a few more examples on this. Just hold on a second. Okay, this is also a recent trade that I've traded, which is Bank of New York Mellon, a very, very fundamentally a good stock. So you can see that, let's say I were to delete all my previous trend line that I've drawn here. And it's very simple. You can just, let's say you don't know anything from this area. How you'll probably draw the trend line will be from here to here. Okay, because I have one touch here, I have two touches here, and three touches here, and maybe another one here. So this is a pretty good trend line. But you can see after it actually crashed through already, it sort of rebounded. So you can see that a classic example where it broke down, but it did not go as much as you would think. And then the trend resumes. So it's quite obvious that this trend line is not really the real trend line anymore. So you got to adjust the trend line. Okay, with experience, you'll do a little bit better, but just stay with me on this. So I will use this low. And I don't know anything from here. I can just extend the line. And when the stock comes down near to this trend line, I can start to initiate a position. Okay, right over here. You can see that because due to earnings and there was some aberration, the stock actually produce a lot more volatility because there was earnings during this period of time. And this is why I say don't bet on trendline breaks, especially if it's a well-angled trend line. Okay, so when it broke down here, I waited for you can use a technical indicator or you can use some other method. For me, I personally use the stock trading success formula method, which I have done as a product, which you may want to check out. Okay, this is how I trade for the past 10 years, and I've been making very consistent money. So what you do is you wait for the turn. Okay, don't be too impatient. You got to wait to let the stock show you that there's some form of buying or slowdown of the selling before you take a particular position. So from here, you can see my entry point was here at 36.08556 or 66 with a very small little stop at 35.3975. If you want it to be bigger, you can. Okay, I'm not saying that you cannot. So from here, I've traded it up. Okay, took some of my profits around here. Okay, and I'm still holding on to this position because I have no stress on this position anymore. So I'm more willing to let it ride. And if I were to draw a channel, remember, do not draw the channel on the extremes over here. Put it in a place where you think is likely to go through many points, which is point number 1, point 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and even here. So from here, at the current point of time, I may consider to exit my full position, or I just leave a very, very tiny little position over there because it's on the extreme of how the stock is actually moving. So the reason why I prefer trend lines as opposed to moving averages, of course moving averages have their places, but one of the main key things I like about trend lines is that it sort of, if you draw the correct line, it can show you the correct roadmap of the particular stock. Okay, trend lines are, what do you call? Not trend lines, I mean moving averages are just averages. They are definitely lagging. Okay, they are not really areas of the chart where you will show you where the stock is likely to turn, and trend lines are the only one that actually give you this form of precision if you draw it correctly. Okay, and it will actually give you even the time when the stock is likely to turn. So if the stock were to move it this way and do nothing for a while and then come back down again, this is where the point you are likely to trade. Okay, so it is a very powerful method because it not only shows you where it turns, but also factors in the time and even shows you the magnitude of the move. Okay, let's go through a few more examples. This is a chart of General Electric. I can see very clearly from my eyes that this is the most probable trend line, because you see I have 1 point here, 2 points, 3 points, and a 4th point here. There was some aberration over here, but it's absolutely fine. Nothing is perfect. Okay, and this would be based on years of drawing. This is how I would just place the trend line immediately. And let's just extend it out and see if it works out. Okay, you can see that the stock actually bounces off over here. Obviously, if you are very, very aggressive, you can just buy on a strike, but I highly recommend against doing it because markets always change. and the buyers and sellers, you need to know where the buyers and sellers are starting to, form a neutral ground, or where the bulls are likely to take over, so that even though you are buying at a slightly higher price, but not too high, okay, you cannot use something that is very, very lagging, because you'll be giving up a lot of gains. But for example, the way I trade using the stock trading success formula, I will probably get in around here, okay, where there's some sort of signs that the bulls are kind of taking control. Okay, then again, you don't want to wait too long, because if you wait too long, that's it, your profit potential is gone, and you may not have a better reward to risk after that. Okay, so let's just see what it goes on. Okay, you can see that the stock even came out from here. You can see from these two lines I traded from here also. That was in February. Okay, traded over here. Every time you see these lines are areas that I've traded. Okay, so you can see that if you draw a good trend line, sometimes it can just keep making you money again and again. So don't laugh at it, because it's one of the most precise methods that I've ever used before. Okay, so right now it has broken down. And so how would you actually do it? And if you take a look at the current chart, it seems that there's no particular trend line that could be drawn, because if I were to draw this trend line over here, the trend line has already been broken, and the stock is not moving the way it's supposed to move based on this trend line anymore. So what you do is you draw the next best line, and to me, I think the next best line will be maybe this line over here. It could actually be just a horizontal support and resistance line. Okay, so don't try to force yourself to draw trend lines where there isn't any trend line. For example, you can look at this area over here. There is actually kind of a trend line over here. So if I would want to trade this stock, maybe at the very least, I want to see it come back to maybe this area. It could take a longer time. So if it took a longer time, you may be buying at a higher price. Okay, so but in this context, it seems that the current stock is trading in a box for now. Okay, and it remains to be seen whether the stock will move on this trend line. But if you want to bet on this trend line, I think it will be pretty good. Okay, another example. This is Ingersoll Rand. Okay, so immediately I can spot from my eyes. This is the very nice trend lines that you can, just by connecting these 2 points over here, you can trade over here, here, maybe here, and then it started to break down. So it seems it break down a lot. So obviously the trend line has sort of changed over here. So you have to experiment if there is actually a better trend line. For me, it may be this trend line, so we can just project it up. And yeah, it seems that this is the current movement of the stock for now. Okay, so the stock's been moving this way. And very simply, if you point a gun and try to ask me to trade here, okay, not maybe point a gun, but let's say if you ask me to trade here, would I trade? The answer is no, because it's on the high side of the trend channel, and it's pretty well defined over a period of a year. Okay, so these are powerful trend lines which I do not want to trade against. Obviously, in trading, anything can happen. Obviously, sometimes it could just fly off. Okay, it can happen, but every time you play, just like when you play the casino or you bet on something, you need to know your odds. Okay, at this point of time, the odds of trading it for it to go up is probably not high, unless of course earnings come out and change the whole picture again and shift the entire supply and demand of the stock. Then we can take a look at it again. But for now, I will not trade this particular stock. Okay, this is GCI. GCI is very obvious that the trend line is from here to here. Okay, so from these 2 points, if I just extend it out, you can see that this is the trend line that it is trying to adhere to. Okay, so this is how I would draw it. You may draw it in a slightly different manner. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it makes sense. So even if it gaps out over here, don't be afraid to draw through areas. So you can have 1, 2, 3. This one spike through, but it doesn't matter. It still holds. So these are the areas that you can trade. Like you see, even here, this is a very powerful trade that you could trade for it to go up. Okay, so this is how you would draw this. I think it's important to give you a lot of examples so that you can, instill it in your brain. So this is a chart of Coke. Okay, so sometimes you can zoom out and see if there's a very nice line that you can draw. So for Coke here, is there a very nice line here? Maybe. Okay. It seems that this is the kind of the line, but we can draw a few more to see which one makes more sense. Okay, this one only has 3 points, so we will just delete this off. Okay, so this seems like Coke is sort of still chugging on with this line over here. And this is a chart of Target. Okay. So Target, this is the immediately I would probably draw this trend line over here, but you can see that the stock sort of move up a little bit more and it's not really showing the correct movement. So we have to draw a more current trend line over here. Okay, so this is where the low to the high to the low again to the high, and in this case it flew off because of a certain change in earnings. Let me see if there's anything else. This is UNH. Alright, sometimes trend lines you got to draw it in a sort of a wedge shape. You can see that this is the trend line, and if you were to parallel the trend line up, okay, it seems that the upper trend line has missed here, 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 and here. So what you do is you just change the way it's drawn to something that's more in line with the current market. So you can see this is a much better line because you got a high here, a high here, a high here, and a high here. So always, like I said, be open to the interpretation of what the stock is trying to tell you. Don't try to force something that's not there. Alright, and if it's better to draw it in this triangle, a little bit of triangle or angled shape channel, then by all means just do it. Okay, another example of Citigroup trading in a box. Doesn't always have to be in an angled line. When you're trading in natural support and resistance, always make sure that you draw areas where most of the points are touching. Okay, it's the same as trend lines. If you were to put your trend line at a very high of here, you would have missed taking profit over here, maybe over here, before the stock actually corrects downwards. Okay, so always be conservative in your drawings of the lines. Okay, VRSN, very obvious, the current trend line is here. Okay, so if you just draw these two lines over here, you would have traded here for a very big move up here. And if I were to parallel it up, I think this would be how I would actually draw it. Okay, so right now VRSN is not something I would take a look at. If it comes back down even more, then I may take a look at how this stock is reacting to the the lower channel of the uptrend line. Okay, similarly MTB seems very good line over here, from here to here, and you can see the stock pushing off around here. Okay, so I hope that you have seen the powerful use of trend lines, and I hope that you can take this and practice a little bit more. In fact, practice a lot if you can on drawing on charts after charts after charts, and you begin to understand what I mean by that trend lines really can give you very, very, very skewed and advantageous reward to risk kind of trades. Okay, and if you combine it with the stock trading success formula program that I have, then it will be even more powerful. Okay, you can just consistently trade off these areas, find out the trend of the particular stock, and trade areas where you find that there's a high probability of reversal, and just consistently make money in this way. You don't really have to trade every day. Okay, in fact, this is not something that I recommend. I recommend people to trade a lot more less, but with more accuracy. I think that is what most of us want to do anyway. Okay, because I do not want to be staring at the screen and grind trading every time. It does not fit with my lifestyle, and I prefer to be doing something else, but still make money consistently over a period of time and make more when I do so. Okay, because I'm not doing intraday trading. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this free video. Maybe in the next email or so, I will give you more goodies to get you up to speed on trading in the correct and logical way. Thank you.